What if the soul wasn't just a matter of faith, but a phenomenon of physics? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into a text that claims it can build a scientific bridge to the spiritual. It actually proposes a model for the soul that's rooted in the fundamental laws of our universe. This is the big question, isn't it? It's something thinkers have been wrestling with for centuries. But the source material we're looking at today doesn't just ask the question. It proposes a whole framework where science and spirituality don't just, coexist. They actually intersect. So, how in the world do you even begin to build a bridge between two such different ways of thinking? The text we're analyzing lays out a really ambitious blueprint. The goal is to create a unified view, and it all starts with where its information comes from. The source is an ebook with a pretty straightforward title, The Science of the Soul. I mean, its whole purpose is right there in the name, right? It's trying to present a scientific model for something that's traditionally been seen as purely spiritual. A bold claim, to say the least. Okay, before we get into the whole scientific model, we really need to talk about a critical part of the story, the messenger. See, the text claims this knowledge wasn't developed in a lab or at a university. Its origin story is, well, it's unique, and it's absolutely central to the entire framework. This source introduces this concept it calls interdimensional consciousness. It's defined in the text as a kind of intelligence, or a being, that exists beyond our normal, everyday reality. This is a foundational idea for understanding where all this information is supposed to be coming from. And the text is super explicit about this origin. It says its entire framework was delivered by an entity named Zizarin. This means everything we're about to discuss is being presented as a direct transmission from this interdimensional consciousness. So, with that unconventional origin established, we can now turn to the real core of the argument, the quantum connection. This is where the text tries to build its scientific bridge, grounding its spiritual claims in the strange and fascinating world of quantum physics. The text proposes that the soul exists at this really unique intersection of three concepts. First, you've got the fundamental quantum fields that make up our universe. Second, you have consciousness itself. And third, there's this idea that the soul's nature is multidimensional. It isn't just limited to our physical reality. So here's the crucial point. The text isn't describing the soul as something separate from the physical world. Instead, it argues the soul is an emergent property, something that's born from the interaction between the most fundamental layer of reality, quantum fields, and the phenomenon of consciousness. So, if the soul is actually rooted in quantum fields, what does that mean about its nature? Well, according to the text, it leads to a pretty radical redefinition. The soul isn't seen as some static, unchanging thing, but as something dynamic, expansive, and constantly evolving. And this really lays the contrast bare. On one side, you have the common idea of a single life, contained in one body. But the source's view, over on the right, suggests something totally different. The soul as a traveler on this continuous journey of growth and learning that actually spans multiple lives. And this quote from the text just captures the idea perfectly. It directly challenges the normal boundaries we place on existence, suggesting our current life is just one chapter in a much, much larger story. All of this builds to an ultimate, and maybe inevitable, claim. Because if the soul truly is a multi-dimensional traveler, and it's not tied to a single body, then it forces us to ask the biggest question of all: what happens after death? The source lays out a really clear logical path here. It starts with the premise that the soul is quantum and multidimensional. From there, it argues that it's on a continuous journey of evolution. So the inevitable conclusion of that line of reasoning is that the soul is independent of the physical body's fate. And that brings us to the final and most profound claim made in this text. It's the destination that this entire framework has been building towards. The idea that our existence doesn't end. There it is, the core assertion stated plainly. According to the science of the soul, the entire quantum framework, the multidimensional nature, the evolutionary journey, it all serves to provide a rationale for this single powerful idea. The framework we've explored today presents a complete system, from a unique origin to a pretty profound conclusion. Whether you view it as science, spirituality, or just a fascinating thought experiment, it leaves us with a compelling question. If life truly is a continuous journey of learning, what are the lessons we're here to master?